Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the show. I'm Joe, and I get to play host today. This morning, I did a few more squat thrusts. That's what we used to call them back in the day. And I made my bed super tight in preparation for today's interview. Friends, I have the honor and great privilege of spending some time today with Dr. Rick Bailey, president of Southern Oregon University. Rick, thank you for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joe. It's great to be with you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so I don't know if you are an Oregonian. Did you grow up there?
No. This is the first time I've ever lived here. I've been through Oregon. I spent some time in the Air Force, so kind of went everywhere, but this is the first time I've lived here.
Well, you've lived there long enough to let people like me know how I'm saying it wrong. So for our viewers out there, help us. How do you say the name of your state?
Oh, you know what? I think we're happy in whatever way your viewers and listeners want to say it. I say Oregon. People say Oregon.
It's all over the place. So my mouth is always playing gymnastics when I try to say, and I spend a lot of time in that state too. So yeah, it's been a struggle. It's been, but what beautiful. And you live in one of the most unbelievably off the chart beautiful places on the planet. Wowzer.
Yeah, shameless plug. So there is a travel blog called thetravel.com. And this summer they came out with an article, and the headline of the article was "The Coziest College Town in America is in Oregon." And it was all about Ashland. It was all about Southern Oregon University. It was fantastic. We didn't reach out. They just kind of did that on their own. So we're really happy about that. And then literally a week later, Architectural Digest came out with their list of the 13 most beautiful underrated cities in the world. And Ashland, Oregon was on that list of 13, the only American city on the list. So something's going on.
My guess is you're squeezing as much juice. Yeah, as much juice as you can out of that. How do we stay as in demand and profitable in the world of cozy? I love that.
That's right. Which is why we're so happy to you, Joe, because thank you for letting me do that shameless plug here on your show.
Oh, for sure. Hey, I need to point out just another curiosity right out of the gates. So SOU's, the roots trace back to being the normal school.
Correct. Right? Yeah, we were built as a school to educate teachers, and really with a regional focus. And there are a lot of public regional schools that got their start like we did. The school I served prior to this was Northern New Mexico College. It also started as a normal school. So
what I find fascinating, sir, is you are one of the most not normal people that I've ever bumped into.
Oh, that's so nice. Well, actually, it could be really nice, or
your standard deviations beyond anything normal. What a contrast when I think about, your background commanding military aircraft, right?
Mm-hmm.
and running, really standing at the commander in chief at SOU. I'm wondering what unexpected parallels moving from one universe to another. Where are the parallels between those two distinctly different careers?
Yeah, it's a great question, Joe. I had at the top of your show, this show, you talked about making your bed this morning and all that. So there is a retired 4-star admiral named Bill McCraven, who your viewers and listeners probably know. He ended up as the 4-star admiral in charge of U.S. Special Operations Command, and literally retired, and the next day or the next week became the chancellor of the University of Texas system with however many campuses they have. And I had a moment, this was about probably 5 years ago, where I was at a very small gathering. He was there, and we had 5 minutes together. And I asked him your question, like, hey, so both of us in very different scales, right? He on a much grander scale, he made this leap. But I retired from the military on a Friday and started as a college president the following Monday. And I asked him, I said, hey, how was that transition for you? And we both actually agreed that the leadership required in higher education is so much different. And there are probably stories, they're all over the place, of military leaders who go directly into higher ed, and they are spectacular disasters because they try to run them like military organizations, and then
they get run out.
Oh, completely. Yeah. completely. So I was really mindful of that, making that transition. And it's interesting because when you look right now at a term that everyone in higher ed knows called sharing governance or shared governance, there was a huge New York Times article about this about a week ago. Well, in many states, there are attempts to kind of dismantle it, and faculty members are really reeling from that. And it seems that the locus of power is trying to shift toward the president or to boards of trustees. And I think what's one of the things I'm most proud of here at SOU, that we are so bought into sharing governance, not because of not because of this, not because of the opportunity to just brag about how close we are. But I really do believe that there is an irony to power, and that power is actually most effective when it is shared, right? Because if you can make power and authority a team sport,
wow,
then everyone buys in, and now you can move mountains, right? As a team, as opposed to a single point. Here's the other thing.
Let me just pause for a minute and just help me understand the difference between those two words, power, where you sit, the difference between power and authority. And this is a testy topic, just so you know.
It is.
High praise. I'm tipping my hat to say, wow, you're stepping into the octagon here, Rick.
Yeah, it is. No, I appreciate the question. So I'm going to fumble through this, but let me give you my best take on it. I think power comes from positionality. So I can say that as the president of a university, there is power that is inherent in the job description, right? For the institution. I think authority is earned, right? It's like respect. Authority is now, how do you use that power effectively, right? And if that power is distributed, then it becomes an authority multiplier, right? So we are, especially our institution, we are in the middle of some incredible changes, and some of them were initiated really as survival techniques. I don't want to sound overly dramatic, but they were really in response to a huge crisis. And as that crisis was averted, we had, because of that wormhole that we had all gone through, it created this really interesting synergy that now, if we're all rowing in the same direction and we all believe in each other, well, now there's no obstacle too big for us. And that's a really exciting place to be. So that is, sorry for the long answer. I think
no. It's so apropos to, I think, what people need to hear. This interview is truly about the topics and issues that people need to hear and not shy away from. Empowering people that's a real thing, and the leader either gets how to do that or doesn't. I think respect is afforded to everybody. That is Absolutely. Just the golden rule, right? You respect everybody, but that empowerment piece, I think that's where the art form of a skillful leader needs to come in and do a lot of listening. And there's some tactical things you need to do, but having a framework in your head. And if I could just like strip that out and we could draw a picture for our people out there, I think that would speak volumes of how do you balance that power and authority. I think in the middle, the fulcrum there is empowerment.
Absolutely. That's a really good way to put it. And so this is we're deviating, of course, in a beautiful way, but let me share that there is when I first got here and looked at the structure, the organizational structure of the institution, it looks very military-like. It's something I'm used to. Here's the board of trustees. Here's above that is the governor. Then there's the president. Here's some vice presidents. And so it is very hierarchical in nature. And as we were going through this challenging crisis that brought us all together, I started to recognize
really a testing point to your culture.
Exactly. Yeah. And in some ways, a forcing function to nudge it in ways that it needed probably to be nudged anyways.
We call that forced family fun at home in the Hill House.
Family fun. Yeah. So I actually see our our organizational structure now is a circle. And I actually spent some time over a weekend with PowerPoint to kind of visualize how I see it. And I actually shared it with our campus. Like, yes, we have this organizational structure. And so people report to certain people. Okay, I understand that. But in terms of the way we make decisions and the way we operate,
yeah,
there's this circle, and there's no one person, including the president. There's no one person on the circle. They are muscle movements, right, for the institution. And the students are in the center of that circle, and all of us are on the same ring, pulling together to be supportive. And it's just it's one of those things that you put up on a screen, and people kind of you get the puzzled look, and then the light starts to go on, like, okay, right. Yeah, I get that.
It's the most ideal framework of how things ought to be. But we've gotten so far away from that. I think for such a time as this, there is a pivoting happening, not amongst many people that I've bumped into, but Tag, you are it. I think this message needs to be heard, not only in its functional properties of sharing, but how do you do it? How do you actually pull it off?
So this is going to sound like a shameless plug for you, but one of the things that I really love about the work that you do is that you've been focusing a lot on culture and organizational culture. And so I came to culture with Edgar Schein, and really trying to understand and artifacts and all of the things that go into it. And there's the famous Peter Drucker quote that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I actually push back on it. I think that there is and by the way, nothing against Professor Drucker. I just think that when strategy and culture are in harmony, that's when things get fantastic, right? That's when you transform institutions. So to your point about how you make that change, I think that's where the culture of the organization has to adapt, and where you have to be intentional, not just about providing a strategic vision, but intentional about what culture, what kind of a mindset, and what kind of relationships do we need to have within the institution, so that as we look and craft the plan forward, right, we're already organically set up to succeed that way.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And somebody that understands culture to that level. Yes. So you've got Schein and Drucker and all the people out there that probably forged the name culture. But right, having a definition, Seth Godin talks about culture being people like us do things like this.
Yeah.
My 13-year-old brain, that's kind of how I understand things in simple. It's never simplistic, right? But if you simplify it to go, here's how we're doing things around here. Our decision making is this way. I can't even tell you how many campuses I've worked with that cannot explain their decision making model.
Yeah.
One, they don't have one, but they have shared governance, but they don't have a decision making model, which that's complexing.
Yeah. And so this is going to sound really out of left field, but at SOU, I think our culture and the way it is evolving has one foundational element in it, and it's love. That's the foundational element of our.
That's kind of squishy, Rick. For a military guy, I'm just saying.
I know.
Dude,
I know.
We might have to edit that out of this.
No, you know what? I want that to be the centerpiat of as you're sharing this out.
Keep talking.
Yeah, we have a lot of challenges at our institution. I was asked recently, hey, what are the biggest challenges you face? And I started the answer with, well, let me share the challenge that we don't have. And as the president, the thing that I get to take for granted, even though I don't, is love. So this is going to sound like a line, and so to the audience, please forgive me for this because it's genuine.
Fire it up.
Every single day here, I witness the way that faculty share wisdom and knowledge with students and inspire them and their intellectual curiosity. I see faculty members staff members who bend over backwards in supporting students, and I mean in incredible ways.
Yeah.
And I see students taking care of students. I see all of them taking care of each other. Doesn't mean that we don't Doesn't mean we always agree on things, right?
Mhm.
We don't. We're a huge organization. We have a lot of different attitudes. That's the point. But we always start from a foundation of love, and when you do that, then it's all just about the details. Now it's just about to figuring out how we move. And so I'm really, really grateful for that. And from that, everything else can be built. By the way, that's also the key to the circle, right? That's also how that can work. If we all,
it really is the essence, if you will, of that circle. The
because
essence
if
is
you can
love.
assume that someone's coming from a good-hearted place. Even if they are proposing something different, even if they believe or espouse something different, if you make the assumption that it's at least starting from a place of love, then you can, as the other, then you can listen to understand better, right? And again, doesn't mean that we get to consensus, but it does mean that we have an understanding of different perspectives. And by the way, all of this, going back to sharing governance, it does make the president's job harder. So let's just own that. It's harder.
Goodness. Yeah.
But it also makes us get to better strategic decisions. I mean, without question.
It's sustainable.
Exactly.
The essence of love is sustainnable. And to give it's actually a core value of HPG. We have love. That's why I was giving you a hard time, because sometimes I sheepishly go in and I talk about our core value of love, but the definition of it is a fighting word. We put our gloves on. Love is a fighting word. It's not a squishy word. Love is fighting for the greatest good of the other, not done as other.
Yeah. I love the way you put that. Yep.
And it does make one's job a lot more challenging. Because the old model of just standing at the table and declaring orders and saying, here's how things ought to go around here and get it done before Friday or heads are going to, that doesn't work anymore. Like we've kind of gone full circle, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah. Well, and potentially in some instances, so in the military is a great example. There are instances where you need very quick decisions and you need people to follow those decisions because they're life and death decisions, right?
Yeah.
And so there are, especially as someone who came from the aviation world, there are times as the pilot in command where I had to make decisions that, okay, this is what we're doing. And as long as it wasn't illegal, that's, everyone has to follow that for the safety of the team, right? But at universities and colleges, they're for the most part, the stakes are much lower, right? It doesn't mean they're not important. It means that we should take the time to listen to a diversity of thought, and value that, to make better decisions.
With open hands to say, I might be wrong. So what would you recommend is the bracelet that I would put on every employee. Right? WW would you recommend? Right? What would you recommend? I think that's a great, anytime somebody's standing in a threshold of your door, I don't know, what would you recommend? Because you're smart, you're brilliant.
There was a wake-up call. I had a colleague who I didn't know that well, who was the provost at another institution, that I spent some time with, and that person told me that at their institution, there were only 3 or 4 people who spoke truth to the president, because everyone else was afraid of what the president would do. And I thought about, like, that puts that president in a terrible position, right? Because
why?
That person is really, one, getting incomplete information.
And two, their only job is one thing: make great decisions. That's the only thing they have to do really well. And if you don't have people giving you the right information, you're setting your leader up to be a failure.
Right.
Yes.
So to your point, what presidents can do to help themselves is really come in humble and say, look, I am a flawed leader. I don't have access to perfect information. I'm going to do the best I can. I will promise these things, right? I'll promise integrity and transparency and compassion and, like, guiding principles.
Yeah.
But in terms of making strategic decisions, the only way that I can do that better is you speaking truth to me. And so not just asking for inputs, but begging people for it, and really opening that door and showing that that the only way you can do this is by their agency.
Yeah. With a pro tip that says, if you want to take that even to the next level, will you please point out any places where I might have broccoli in my teeth?
Yes.
Where do I have blind spots that are limiting my influence across campus? Because it doesn't matter where you're coming from. Everybody has those pieces that tend to just kind of trip us up. I wish we had another hour, but we don't. We're definitely going to have you come back. And I just want to thank you. You are crazy busy. You're running as fast as anybody that I know. We've covered just a smidge of what's good and productive on campus. I would encourage our viewers to really just keep SOU on the watch.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
From a systems and structure standpoint, I don't know of anybody that's doing it much better. And you can find them at sou.edu on the web. Yep. You can find Rick in all of the places, LinkedIn and other spots. I'm sure you can find. Just incredible leader, worth following. To our viewers, thank you for joining us. This has been The Show with Joe, reminding you that everyone deserves to live in a community served by healthy leaders like this amazing individual right here, who are also building healthy teams, because we know healthy teams create smart systems. And I can't think of anything more important today than building systems that actually work, right? Yeah. Hey, before we wrap up, if you found any value in today's conversation, just take a moment, hit the like button, leave a comment. You can share this episode, please. It's so much gold in this exchange. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Until next time, this is Dr. Joe, on purpose to cancel any and all things average. Peace and press on, folks.
Thanks, Joe.